Hi, my name's Larry Klein, and I'm here with Mix with the Masters in my private little place, my own studio that I have been working in to a great degree for the last 8 years. I work here about 50% of the time. I go to other studios and work and do tracking dates, but I can do a lot of things here. I can do pre-production and editing, vocals, overdubs, even mixing sometimes I do here. It's a comfortable place. It's a place that I love coming to in the morning, and if left to my own devices, I might never leave during the day, but people have to yank me out of it from time to time. But I love working here, and I'm going to be talking about what I think are some interesting ideas about making jazz records in this time. I come out of being a fanatical jazz fan when I was in my early teens, and then my way into traveling on the road and playing with a lot of the people I wanted to play with was to, right out of school, start playing with my jazz heroes. And that's what I did. And I was really primarily in that world for a number of years. And then I wanted to expand and explore other ways of making other types of records. Jazz remains something that is very foundational for me. It's where I came from, and it informs everything that I do, whether I'm making a pop record, a rock record, or some kind of something in between. Jazz is always involved in some sort of subconscious manner or an informative manner in the way that I think about structure, the way I think about composition in music. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about my ideas about these things. I'm going to be using 2 tracks from a record that I've made with a great artist named Candace Springs for Blue Note Records as a vehicle to perhaps explain some of these principles and ideas that I have regarding a way to approach jazz that hopefully is still rich and has integrity, but also in a way that allows listeners who aren't uniquely conversant in jazz a way into the music. This is the second record that I've made with Candace Springs. Candace is an extraordinary artist. She is really a highly intuitive musician. I think to a large degree self-taught. She had some teachers. She grew up in Nashville. She's the daughter of a guy who was a great session singer in Nashville. And she fell in love with jazz at a very early age and started playing and singing different jazz standards. And because of her appearance, she's a beautiful woman and very much like the ideal of a R&B artist. And so oftentimes she's been kind of slanted towards that world in the records that she's made. And she always ends up coming back to jazz because that's really where her passion lies. And I think that this happens quite a bit in the music business, where people look at an artist and they look at the way that they appear and what their physical appearance is like, and they start thinking, well, we can make this person into this or that. So for this record, we decided we were going to be absolutely true to who she is as an artist and really discount everything, all other considerations, and go to the center of what Candace is about and what she loves to do live. That was our sort of guiding principle on this record. As far as the repertoire goes, most of these are songs that she's been singing on the road and that she started singing and she developed her way of structuring them, and in certain cases changing the harmony and reworking things and kind of turning them inside out in the way that she loves to do. So in many ways, I think that it's perhaps even more straight to the center of who she is as an artist than the last record that we did together was. One of the songs that we decided that we wanted to do was an old standard called Angel Eyes. And this is a song that most people associate with Frank Sinatra. We decided that we were going to try and do this one, and actually quite serendipitously, Candace ran into one of her heroes, Norah Jones, in the airport in Miami. And Norah Jones is one of the artists that Candace, from the time she can first remember playing piano, looked up to. She's really one of her idols. And they ran into each other in the airport in Miami, and Candace just said, would you sing with me? I think, just spontaneously, and thinking that Norah would say no, or yeah, maybe let's talk about it, or, I'll think about it. And she actually just said, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, let's do it. And so that was the germ from which this duet came from. It was very spontaneous the way it worked. We were recording in Brooklyn at a studio that I love to work at called Brooklyn Recording. We just worked out for her to come in one morning and decided that we were going to just figure it out kind of on the fly. And she came in and we started kind of messing around with different ways to structure the intro, and that came together very quickly. And then she also had a picture in her mind about the tag and how that would work, and that ended up working beautifully as well. Enough to know that he has one of the essential qualities that I need in a musician, and that is curiosity and openness to trying things and challenging himself and reinventing, and not kind of set in his ways. And Scott, same thing. He's very, very strong musician, great intuition, but secure. He is of the level of the stratum of acoustic bass players. He's of that highest stratum, and he's very comfortable with himself. I find as a bass player myself that I communicate really well with him. Just little bits of shorthand that we both understand that get us to where we need to go. And I don't get a lot of resistance, and very good constructive dialogue that we have. I think, by the way, bass players, and I say this not patting myself on the back, but bass players make very good producers, I think. Broad generalization. The rationale behind that statement is that a bass player sits at the kind of at the fulcrum of the rhythm section and between things. They're kind of where everything meets. They're where melody, harmony, and rhythm meet with the bass. And the bass player can exert a lot of control over the rhythm section. I think that's one of the reasons why you do find a lot of bass players that become producers. Now this whole tag section, this was Nora's idea. She came in and she had this in her head, this kind of churchy gospel way of approaching the tag, which I loved. I found it entertaining and ironic to have the tag of a drinking song be gospel oriented and have this kind of a bit of a country-ish thing to it that she brings to everything. I find that Nora tends to invest a lot of what she does with this subtle country aspect of things. And they just sang incredibly beautiful together. This really was a first take. We tried it one more time, and predictably, I mean, we all kind of knew, well, you know, how are we going to get it any better than this? It really feels amazing and feels natural and effortless, and so we tried it again, but predictably we ended up with the first pass through. It's very important, I think, to be able to recognize when chemistry and magical stuff happen in the studio, especially people who haven't been producing for a long time, to feel like they need to do 10 or 15 takes, because who knows, you know, it may get better, and something may happen that transforms it and takes it another 5 steps up. While that is sometimes true, a lot of times you can end up really alienating everybody that you're working with by doing that and overworking things. There's something that happens when things are right in a take. When I explain it to people, I always say that something shiny is happening with the way the take sounds. Things just come together in a different way than other takes. There's just something where everything gels and the track has this kind of gleam to it. And oftentimes I find that when the master take starts, that about 10 or 15 seconds into it, I think to myself, that's it, this is the one, you know. And a lot of times you have to then do some intercuts and some edit pieces if there are little problems or train wrecks somewhere along the line. But there's something shiny that comes off of a track. You can kind of identify it right at the beginning, but you have to really be kind of paying attention without being invested in technical considerations or other modifying factors in your mind. You have to just be listening to the total mix of what's going on to identify that, and almost be sort of in some kind of a floating headspace of sorts in order to identify that, you know, because if you're thinking about specific technical factors, then you'll miss it. You'll be distracted by some sort of, whether it's if you're worried about a piano part or worried about what the guitar is going to be doing in the chorus, then your mind isn't there. You have to just kind of be in almost some sort of a Zen space.